Okay, so I know what I said back in my season 10 ranking, which was the 3-minute video that I actually couldn't really make it to, like, at least 20 minutes or something. Well, I'm gonna try that here. Keep in mind, though, I'm not gonna be doing anything too much, since this is just gonna be an audio file, so enjoy, like, maybe 3 or 4 different images compared to every video thumbnail for this season. And obviously, I am not showing videos or anything for copyright reasons. Also, this could be a good reason for me to give in more detail since I literally just explained the rankings and why I couldn't make that video work, but I was actually using a tier list maker and my basic screen recorder where this is actually going to be done on voice recordings instead of that. Also, my episode ranking hasn't really changed, so this won't be too different. Because again, I'm just talking about the episodes in more context. So, with all that said and out of the way, let's get started with number 16. Oh boy. So, according to everyone, apparently Phoenix vs. Raven is at the bottom of their lists. I don't get why. Spoiler alert, it's actually not at the bottom of the list. Well, for my list, that is. We'll get to that in a little bit. Also, the audio sounds different because I'm actually working on this the day after I made the intro, so just thought I'd let you know. Anyway, so what's at the bottom of my list? Holy fuck! Martian Manhunter vs. Silver Surfer is fucking boring. How do you make an idea about this absolutely boring? It's not bad. There are some good things I like about it, but I'm sorry, I found nothing interesting about this episode. Also, just a quick heads up, I'm talking about the fights themselves. I don't really like to care about the analysis, because when I usually check it out on a rewatch, I skip the analysis altogether. Except the ending analysis, obviously. And this is kind of a slap in the face because I was actually looking forward to this. Think about it. A cool DC character and a really neat X-Men character. What could go wrong with that? Okay, before I talk about the negatives, well, there's only like a few of them, let me talk about the few good things. For starters, Mind Over Matter is actually quite a good track that I actually do like. Second, I actually do love how they brought in the NES pose that Silver Surfer does. I actually found that pretty funny, and I'm actually happy that's in here. Also, the black and white part of the beginning of the battle is actually quite nice looking. I do like it. Otherwise, though, you want to know why this fight is at the bottom of my list? There is 90% nothing happening. I'm not kidding, it's just them talking. Do you want to know how this could have worked? Martian Manhunter is an Injustice. Why couldn't they just try something with that? Also, I only saw this twice. Once, when it premiered, and the second time was a few months ago when I did it on a rewatch, and my opinion has not changed. This is the most boring death battle I have ever seen. Even when there is a little bit of action, it's only for like a second or two, and then poof, back to just talking. Yeah, honestly, I don't have that much more to say. This is just a boring excuse of a death battle that I'm surprised nobody really hates. Yet they put Phoenix vs. Raven at the bottom of their list. I don't know why. I get it, there might be something visually interesting, and I can definitely admit that, but most of the time, nothing is happening. They're almost just digging around in space until one of them has to die. Okay, so with the only boring one out of the way, I do like every match from here on out. Alright, let's go to number 15 next. Before everybody rages in the comments about this one, please hear me out. Stitch vs. Rocket Raccoon is not this slow because I hate it. No, I literally said that I like every match from this point on. So why is it this slow then that somebody, especially Biffweed or Nemesis Bloodacre, is going to comment about? It's not because I don't like this as much, but there's nothing really too special about this for me. For Biffweed, who actually does love this episode a lot, especially since this is the first death battle he ever saw with his real friends, I could definitely respect and understand that, for sure. In fact, if I were in that same scenario with another random episode, I would probably feel that exact same thing. Well, if it happens, anyway. Okay, anyway, back to my review. The fight is quite well paced, and I actually like literally everything that happens on screen, but there's nothing really making me love this more. And that's kind of surprising, because I like Lilo and Stitch. Not Stitch the character himself. No, I don't hate him, obviously. It's just that he's not really a character I go to. I mostly think of Angel. And Rocket is technically my favorite member of the Guardians of the Galaxy, even though I don't really care about that franchise. For comparison's sake, look at Bill vs. Discord, Gus vs. Dimitri, and Killer vs. Misaka. All three of them have something genuinely interesting about them that make them much more iconic. And don't worry, we'll get to them near the top of the list. Also, Jailhouse Rocket is a fine enough track, although, I'm not kidding, if you make an instrumental on the like, if you make an instrumental track out of that part alone, then that would have gotten me much more interested. Otherwise, it's just kind of generic compared to everything else coming up. It's just fine. Moving on.
I'll hack his belt. You lay low and let me know what you find.
Is Ant-Man vs. Adam this low on the list? Not a surprise at all to everybody else checking this out. Pretty much. So, what can I say that everybody else hasn't said about this matchup already? Well, I did love it around the time it came out, but then again, it was a season premiere, we would get more episodes. So, I was just happy to get a new episode in the meantime. Yeah, you know what? I'm kind of in the mood to just skip this one entirely. Like, what else can I say that everybody else hasn't said already? Now, for some of the episodes I don't really have a lot of intel about, then I will link Biffweed's Season 10 video in the description. Because he could definitely give out much more detail than I possibly can. And also, that's a good explanation as to why I don't have that much to say about Ant-Man vs. Adam, or any other episode on the list coming up. Well, no, that's not true. Anyway, moving on. I am really sorry, but Dragonborn vs. Chosen Undead has to be this low on the list. Not because I hate it by any means, but it's kind of such a fall from grace. Around the time this came out, this is the match that everybody was probably talking about, but future episodes just came out, and they were getting better and more iconic. Don't get me wrong though, the matchup idea itself is quite amazing actually, especially since Dark Souls and Skyrim are two iconic game franchises that I actually like. Also, the track in the opera Fireborn, by the way, is fucking phenomenal. Well, not as phenomenal as some of the other songs we'll talk about coming up, but I decided to point that out. So I love how the fight actually works with Chosen Undead constantly dying until Dragonborn actually has to blow out the fire. And the action elements with the weapons here work really well. I don't know, that just randomly came up in my head while thinking about the episode. And yeah, I'm sorry, there's nothing else really I could say for right now. So, let's move on. Again, I'll be linking Biffweed's Season 10 video in the description, because again, he could give out much more information than I possibly can.
I'm the doctor. And I don't want to go.
Hey, Morty, why the fuck are we on this guy's ranking? I don't know, Rick. Like, how did we get here? Are we just here for cameos or something? How the fuck should I know? I'm just so drunk. Okay. Impressions aside, Rick vs. Doctor Who is amazing. See Rocket vs. Stitch? This is how you draw me in for your attention. So from here on out, we're getting into the episodes that I absolutely love. Now, here's a good question. Why is it this low on the list? Well, other episodes are just better than this. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing negative about this at all. It's just that episodes after this get better and better. By the way, quick mention, I like some of the backgrounds and Easter eggs we get in the episode. Like when Rick pulls out his sword, we see Bill Cipher and the arcade machine behind him. That's pretty awesome. Such as Blips and Chits, the Screaming Sun, which, why is it just on a loop? I don't know, that's kind of my only negative with this episode. Also, here is something 100% important. I'm not the biggest Doctor Who fan nor expert, but it's pretty nice to actually see him here. Well, at least this version of him, that is. Also, some people did mention that the Doctor never even tried to harm Rick or anything. Well, okay, there was the screwdriver, but that was just to disarm Rick's inventions. Otherwise, yeah, I can agree, the Doctor never actually tried to harm him. I don't know, that's just kind of fun to point out. Also, the track, okay, everybody says Wubba Lubba Allen Z, but it's Wubba Lubba Allen's Y. Like, I don't get it. Do y'all pronounce it wrong or something? Or is that how it's supposed to be pronounced? I don't know why. Track is amazing, by the way. I love the sci-fi elements in it, and it fits really well. Otherwise, I kind of want to move on and talk about some of the later episodes, so we'll end things here. Are you fucking kidding me? Yeah, you need more attention, dumbass! Okay, Rick, Morty, enough of your impressions. It's time to move on. Fine, get the next title card or whatever.
What's the matter? Afraid of the dark.
Now we finally get to Phoenix vs. Raven. So like I was saying earlier, I really don't know why everybody puts this at the bottom of their list. There's some genuinely interesting and amazing things about this episode. The visuals are really stunning, the fight is amazing, and also the track Forevermore is really great stuff. Also, a quick thing about the death, it's actually quite amazing, actually. For Phoenix and Raven colliding their powers until Raven does outpower Phoenix and actually kills her. Sorry for that kind of awkward take, I don't know why it went like that, but there you go. I meant me talking, not about what I was actually talking about. The Phoenix and Raven, well, like their Soul Raven and the Phoenix that, well, Phoenix summons, look actually really great. Yeah, I'm just kind of going to talk about some random parts in the episode, but you kind of get my point of view. The whole sword thing is actually quite neat, and it's also cool to know because I didn't even know Raven had an actual sword and not one she could just summon whenever she wants. That's pretty nice. It sounds like this should be in my top 5, but it's here because episodes just get better, and this is an episode I don't really watch that much. But don't get me wrong though, this is definitely a very nice episode that I do like. Now, if I had to pick this or Raven vs. Twilight, that's kind of a hard choice, because I actually love Raven vs. Twilight. That fight was really fast and well made. And I just felt literally everything that happened in the episode. But I don't know which one I would pick more. I think I like them equally, at least for now. But anyway, I like Phoenix vs. Raven. Everybody else is going to watch this video. This is kind of an underrated episode, really. Well, at least in my own opinion. Anyway, I think I might move on now. I kind of already talked about this one enough.
We'll be sure to write it on your tombstone.
Gojo vs. Makima has a bit of an interesting story for me. On my first viewing of it, I found it kind of one of the more boring episodes, but I actually still liked it. But after a few more rewatches as time went on, I started to like this match a lot more. And I even tried to have a friend of mine, Savannah, check this episode out, but she loved it on her first viewing, but it took me a while to actually reach that much. Well, we didn't check it out together because she wasn't available at the time. This is on Instagram when this happened, by the way, and I will mention this in Scooby vs. Courage, but that's for later. Who Wears the Crown, by the way, is actually quite amazing. I remember saying this on Instagram, saying it was just okay because of the lack of vocals, but I don't know, I really like it now. Okay, so the fight itself, where do I begin? I guess with the intro of all things. The Samurai Jack vs. Aphos Samurai Death Battle is actually quite a nice cameo, especially since that was actually a really good fight. And Gojo casually just talking next to Makima, it's pretty neat actually. And when they actually burst out of the theater and Gojo just falling down onto the floor, well, close to it, I actually love how the fight opens up. That's a really good way, especially since the track opening like right there. And everything seems fine, but okay, while I'm actually talking about it, the only part I don't really like about this episode, and it's really minor, but when Makima actually does get blown up by Gojo's, I'll just say, gun attack. There's a guy in the bathroom that actually blows up while Makima does respond. Look, I get it, it does show that Makima actually does get regenerated because somebody actually has to die for her. I get it, but really though, why can't it just be somebody on their phone, like in the hallway or something? That would at least make more sense, and less disgusting. Well, not disgusting, but just less. Anyway, and everything from here on out just gets more and more memorable. Such as that we'll be sure to put that in your tombstone line that Makima says. As well as the I alone am the honored one line that Gojo says while killing Makima. And, well, you know, while I'm talking about Chainsaw Man and Jujutsu Kaisen, I'm not gonna lie, this is kind of an odd idea for a fight. Makima is not who I think of when I think of Chainsaw Man. I think of Denji, you know, the guy who can literally turn into a human chainsaw. What's wrong with that? Now, I know people do want Yuji versus Denji, maybe we'll get that this upcoming season, but... And Gojo here is fine, really. I have no problem with that. Otherwise, though, everything here is just quite great, actually. Honestly, I'm not really sure what else I could say here, because I might be able to go on for, like, at least another 2 minutes, or minute, I guess, if I want to talk about this episode more about the smallest details, but I'm kind of in the mood to just move on and talk about some other episodes. Speaking of... this right here is the death battle that really made me love Unicron. When the trailer first came out for this, I wasn't too excited, but I was still genuinely interested, and when the fight came out, this made me love Unicron a lot more. But anyway, we're here to talk about the actual episode itself. Okay, I will definitely talk about this, at least for a little bit, but I'm not gonna have that much to say because, well... what else do you really want me to say? It's Galactus versus Unicron. Anyway, I will definitely talk about this for at least a minute or two. I guess we'll start off with the track that I did talk about for every other episode so far. All Consuming is amazing. The background music and the occasional vocals are really good. And I do love how this episode genuinely looks. Like, the backgrounds of space as well as the models themselves look amazing. And the transforming scene of Unicron looks great. Okay, if I could pick maybe an iconic quote from this episode, it would be the Unicron line of... wait, hold on. How's it played again?
Destruction, pure finality. First and last, true immortality.
That, as well as the I am Oblivion. Those are pretty iconic lines. Honestly, yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know what else I could say about this episode. Like, I do love this very much, but... I don't know, I'm just kind of running out of material for this one to talk about. I could maybe go on if I had more to mention, but, I'm just in the mood to talk about more, so let's move on.
Oops. Well, I guess we can wish it back later.
Dare I say that Goku vs. Superman 3 is actually the best of the three? No, I'm not kidding. While the original remains is probably one of the most impressive death battles ever made at the time, since it was back in the first season, and Goku vs. Superman 2 is mostly forgotten, but I don't know, I like it. But there's something genuinely more impressive compared to the previous two. While Goku vs. Superman 1, like way back in the first season, is actually my second favorite compared to the three, this is easily my number one favorite. Maybe it's the track Super, which is fucking amazing by the way, it's definitely phenomenal. Maybe it's the climax where Superman goes to all the suns and Goku charges up his Kamehameha. I'm not sure, there's a lot to unpack here. For starters, I love how we cut literally straight away into them fighting. That's cool. Oh yeah, I guess when we just jump straight right into this, the fan animation while Superman does attack Goku for a quick moment, they look great actually, and it fits pretty well. And I like how in this one they're friends instead of just being rivals like in the first two episodes. That's pretty neat. You know, while I'm talking about it, it kind of reminds me of Gogeta vs. Vegito, and that's an awesome death battle. Because of the tracks being very similar, as well as the fight being pretty similar. Although one of the fusions get turned into a statue and the other ends all of reality. Visuals here look absolutely amazing, by the way. Otherwise though, it's just another rematch really. Here's a little fun fact, when I actually saw the ending of this episode, I knew Superman was gonna win, because he won the previous two matches and I knew Goku wasn't gonna win no matter what he did. And yep, I was right. The ending is pretty nice too, actually, I like that, although I don't really get the whole, like, what do you even call them? Like, I guess different battles or something? I don't know. Someone could probably speculate what I'm trying to say here. And of course, we have a lot to discuss in the ending analysis. It's definitely worth noting. Yeah, you know what? I'm sorry. I don't have much more to say. I know I've been like that for the past couple matches, but I really just want to talk about some of my absolute favorite matches coming up. And, well, we'll get to an episode that I actually definitely did enjoy, especially with a friend of mine, so let's get to it. Now we're on to Scooby vs. Courage. Okay, so when I first saw the trailer for this, my only question is, how do you make this work? The answer, you get this. Probably an amazing fight that I wasn't even expecting, but it just works so well here. There's just a bunch of moments here that I actually love about this episode. Also, Forever Terror Knight. That's all I have to say. So like I mentioned before we move on to this fight, I actually did check this out with my friend Luke on Instagram, and we had a good time checking it out. Okay, anyway, so let's dive in. Okay, I do mean it this time. There is a bit to unpack. There's just good moments, especially the clay monster chasing Scooby and Courage throughout the fight when it actually is Eustace. By the way, Eustace dying is pretty satisfying for the chest of demons in the episode. Also, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of surprised when Scooby and Courage couldn't kill each other. Like, I thought maybe Courage would have won this one, I guess. The thumb wrestling scene is pretty funny, and it just kind of came out of nowhere, but I like it, as well as the whole thumbs up meme. That's neat. And I never even heard of the whole dance, I'm gonna call it. I know it has a name, but I don't know, I can't really think of it right now. It's just the whole tornado dance thing. You know what? Yeah, let's call it the tornado dance. From Scooby, by the way. Speaking of Scooby, when he turns giant and tries to punch Courage about the size of the planet, that legitimately shocked me, but it's just so damn good. And Courage just screaming until Scooby shatters back to his normal self, and I thought that would have killed him, but nope, it's just so good and iconic. Iconic. I don't know why I clipped out there. Anyway, I could probably go on and on about this episode if I had enough time. Well, I mean, I do, but I'm sorry. Let's dive into a PlayStation matchup next, shall we? Cole vs. Alex is absolutely amazing. I was not expecting this matchup to happen at all, but I'm actually really happy about this. Quick disclaimer, I never even heard of the game prototype where Alex comes from, but it's pretty neat to see him here, and he does look really cool in this battle. And I do know Cole, well, a little bit. I never played Infamous, but I have heard of its franchise. Okay, so quick mention, Inhuman is absolutely an amazing track. I love listening to this one quite a bit. Okay, now on to the actual fight. This fight has really good elements here. While it mostly just takes place in a city, I actually like how it works. We just get Alex being an absolute villain while Cole just genuinely tries to stop him. Alright, I think I'll just mention some of the more iconic moments. Well, for me at least. When the two access more of their powers, such as Cole using the, I'm just gonna say lightning spikes, and Alex becoming this kind of monster, look really well, especially since Inhuman sounds amazing during this moment. And while they were fighting in the air and Alex actually does stab Cole directly, I thought that Cole was gonna die, but no, he genuinely surprised me by saying, good idea, while he steals Alex's power. No, I'm not kidding, that did genuinely surprise me, and I thought that Cole was gonna die. Also, the tornado scene while Cole was in the air looks pretty cool. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have that much more to say, but now we're getting into my top 5. Starting with...
You are liberated from hell. Find peace in the next life.
Wait, Vader, what the fuck are you doing here? Get out of here. Okay, so we're on to Darth Vader vs. Obito Uchiha. Probably the best Star Wars vs. Naruto death battle I've seen so far. Second favorite is Obi-Wan vs. Kakashi. Okay, so like I mentioned earlier with Gojo vs. Makima, where do I begin with this one? There's a lot of good here that I could really just sum up in one word. Memorable. This entire match is absolutely memorable. Then again, every episode other than Martian Manhunter vs. Silver Surfer is really memorable. I guess we'll start off with the beginning. When Obito uses his Madara voice to interact with Vader, that actually is pretty damn memorable. I actually love that. And then the more upbeat track of That's No Moon, which is a really great track. I kind of wanted a vocal track here, but this works really well actually. I love how this turned out. Alright, so I haven't talked about any of the track's artwork, but I will mention for this one. I love the flower with the little symbol in the middle. That looks really cool. And also really neat. I would actually like to see if there's a flower like that. Okay, anyway, and I wasn't actually expecting this to actually happen where Obito became, well, almost touch resistant, if you want to say that. But it works for him. And also, when Vader did crush Obito's mask, I was actually surprised that he actually pulled a little trick on Vader. That's always neat. And the dialogue they exchange after the whole Force collision is pretty nice. And also, the tail beast bomb scene is absolutely amazing. How it charges, when it fires, and Vader just compressing it all until it explodes, that looks genuinely incredible, and I love every second of it. Also, when Obito uses his 6 sages, I think that's what it's called, and he says, "This is inevitable." I actually love that line. Then it just kind of goes on from here, and, well, okay, the only thing I do skip over with this fight is the scene where Anakin actually does see Padme, like a whole vision that Vader sees. That's the only part I really skip. I love the death here too, by the way. While Obito rises up his sword and says, "You are a liberator from hell. Find peace in the next life." And I felt all of the impact when he sliced it down on Vader. That quote is easily fucking awesome. I love that very much. It's extremely memorable and a great battle to check out, and that's more than enough to get into my top 5. But let's go to number 4.
Promise, I'll kill them, all of them, down to the last one.
Holy shit, we are now at Guts vs. Dimitri, the very first Fire Emblem death battle. Again, I'm sorry to ask this question again, but where do I begin? There is so much excellent with this fight. Okay, let me try and calm down here from being too excited. First of all, I am really happy we finally have a Fire Emblem character being in Death Battle. And Dimitri being a choice here, it's a little odd, but I was still really happy with it before the fight came out. Also, for God's Hand. Yeah, you get more claps at Forever Terror Knight, I'm sorry. God's Hand is such a fucking amazing track. I could say that for probably every other vocal track in this season. This is easily the better Guts death battle. Now, I like Guts vs. Nightmare. It's a good fight, but this is not only more iconic and memorable, but there is just so much to go through. Also, yes, this did make me love Dimitri, in case anyone is curious. This fight is just so fast-paced, and it's also pretty gory, too. In fact, the clip that I actually used while starting this fight, the "I promise I'll kill all of them, down to the last one," that is such a good iconic quote that I will definitely love. Also, the scene with the Berserker armor looks really good, and I love how it looks here. And after that, it's just fast-paced sword swinging. You know what? It's almost breathtaking if you want to look at it like that. And the moment where Dimitri actually does finish the killing blow is absolutely amazing and looks great. But the only thing that's rather confusing is the death. Now, I do understand, but it took me a while to actually get to it. On my first viewing, I thought that Dimitri was gonna die until Guts randomly stopped. And then, well, everything happened, and I didn't even understand what was going on until Dimitri left. Now, I have heard about this, and this is, I think, what's going on, but apparently Guts actually just kept fighting until he lost every amount of his blood. So, that makes sense, I guess, as well as the demon that was actually in the Berserker armor just trapped him there. Yeah, I'm sorry, it's just a little confusing. Still cool though, for sure. And honestly, yeah, again, I'm sorry, I'm gonna stop here. But here's a matchup that I really, really want to talk about.
You will die by my hand.
I absolutely fucking love Frieza vs. Megatron. You know, I could just end my review there with that one sentence, but no. This so far is easily my favorite Transformers death battle, and maybe my favorite Dragon Ball death battle. I'm not sure though. First off, yes, I actually do like the idea of Frieza vs. Megatron, because Megatron was actually my favorite Transformers when I was a kid, and Frieza is an awesome villain from Dragon Ball. There is actually a really good idea for that. Also, let me get this out of the way. Nemesis Bloodacre isn't checking this episode out. Nemesis, I will say this though, you are missing out on one awesome death battle. I'm just saying that. Okay, now for another quick moment. Final Formers. Okay, I'm sorry, this is easily my favorite track of the entire season. Yes, my second favorite is Discord and Decipher, but my number one is Final Formers. There is just so much fucking iconic moments in this song. Now, obviously, I won't play them because of copyright reasons, but just take a listen and tell me you do not agree with me on that. Okay, so here's the fourth or fifth time I'm asking this question. Where do I begin? Well, let's start from the beginning, I guess. I actually do like how this is trying to parody older Dragon Ball Z, with Frieza actually trying to claim Megatron's planet as his own. The whole monologue is actually pretty sweet until Frieza actually says this.
I love it when they monologue back.
And then, I don't know what this move is called. I'll just call it a Planet Buster. Also, this line, "Pity, I'll have to construct a new mothership from your corpse," is also awesome as he tries to strike Megatron. You know, I'm not kidding for that scene there. I thought it looked like a sword or something that he just summoned. Still looks great though. And then it's just amazing action while Final Formers plays in the background. It's just absolutely incredible. Actually, no, not incredible. It's almost perfect. I love how the abilities, powers, and moves look for this fight. I love how they play, and I really like how the song complements this battle perfectly. By the way, the whole Golden Frieza scene, I actually like it. It's a neat transformation. Yes, I know it didn't need to take this long, but the rest of the music is kind of silent, so what else were they supposed to do? Then the whole beam collision is amazing while Frieza actually uses Megatron's planet to actually crush Megatron behind him. That actually looks really great. And then again, just more good dialogue and action. And I'm not gonna lie, the whole death is actually pretty surprising for me, because I thought Frieza was gonna die, but no, it was actually a fake out and only part of him is alive. By the way, him summoning 3 destructive discs looks really good. And then the line at the end is also amazing. Alright, I think I've done enough reviewing for this episode, but seriously, that's how good it is. That's how all of these are. Okay, except Martian Manhunter vs. Silver Surfer. That was absolutely boring. But now we're going on to my original number 1 before another certain death battle came on. So, let's get to it.
You want it? Come and get it.
Killer vs. Misaka was my number 1 before another death battle came out, and it has been like that for a while until, again, another death battle came out. We'll get to it. My opinion on this one hasn't changed at all. I still love this episode very much. It's still a great fight to check out. Also, I don't know if I mentioned this in my first half of Season 10 video, but I actually mentioned, well, okay, at least I thought I mentioned, but if not, I'll mention it here. Would you believe that this fight alone made me like Killua? Like, a lot? Because I actually used to hate him around the time of DBX, or I think it's a DBX, where he actually killed a Naruto character, I believe. I don't remember what it was, but that's the only reason why I hated him. And that was years ago. So anyway, let's get back on track. First off, Change of Heart is an incredible track. Like, before this fight came out, I thought maybe it would be some upbeat rock song while it would be a vocal track, but no, Change of Heart is actually a really great track that I absolutely love. Dare I say, it might be the best instrumental track of the entire season. I said instrumental, not vocal. Anyway, on to the actual fight. I love how this plays, and also, the background, I know it is just a nighttime city, but it looks absolutely gorgeous here, and it fits really well for both characters. All the action and abilities here are played really well, and I love how all of them work, especially the giant, I think it's lightning sand that Misaka summons, I'm not sure, but it looks great. Also, no, I don't get the whole snake that Killua summons, I really don't know. Then again, I'm not the biggest expert on Hunter x Hunter, but I like the franchise, it's nice. Also, the scene where Killer and Misaka are on the side of the tower and get up close during the fight, it looks amazing while the music plays in the background at the perfect time. Also, I thought that Misaka would actually die, but no, it was actually a fake out, and I didn't even realize that Killua would be the one dying. Killua's death is probably my second favorite in the franchise. Number 1 is obviously Homelander's death. I mean, come on, tell me that does not look like an incredible death. But that was the previous season, so obviously I'm not talking about it here. But I'm sure you get my point on why I love this episode so goddamn much. Especially since my friend John actually loves Hunter x Hunter, and me and him actually checked it out around the time it came out, and he actually really liked it too. So that's the bottom line. This episode is fucking incredible, and I'm really happy how it turned out. But not as good as... Number 1 is incredibly obvious. Bill vs. Discord is not only my favorite episode of the season, but the entire show. No, I'm not kidding. I think a lot of people would agree with me on that and probably admit it themselves. And for me wanting Bill Cipher on the show for a fair amount of time, I'm not only happy that this came out in general, but how fucking excellent and perfect it is. So, where do I begin? No, really. How could I even talk about this episode? Okay, you want to know something? From number 16 to 1, I actually recorded them all yesterday, and while I'm talking right now is the day I'm actually trying to wrap this recording up. So, you know what? I will say this because I really want to get this video uploaded. I will let you all see this death battle so you can all see how perfect it is. All the Easter eggs, how this fight is absolutely incredible to watch, and also Discord Decipher is an amazing track. I mentioned this already, but this is my second favorite vocal track of the entire season. Yeah, I'm sorry to end on an anticlimactic note here, but this recording is going into a half hour long, and I really want to get this video uploaded. So, I will end here. I might link this in the description, I might not, but if not, then just go look it up. Just search up Death Battle Bill of Cipher versus Discord, and you will all see how perfect it is. And that's about it. I don't really have a lot to say about my outro, but I will say this though, I have absolutely no idea if I'm gonna do another video like this. Maybe, but it really depends on how good Season 11 is, and if I really do want to talk about the other seasons, then I'll probably do them individually, but I will definitely do them on a tier list, because this took way too long to actually make. So, I'm probably not going to make a video like this for at least a while. So anyway, I will see y'all later with whatever we do next time, and that'll be all for now.